What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition to my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're talking about Batman and Robin issue number 20. This one is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and this is an interesting one because we actually have three artists on this particular story, and they each serve a visual purpose, I should say. So you have one artist who works on the Journal of Thomas Wayne, and then you have another artist who does the Robin and Batman comic book that's told within the story that kind of goes into Damian's inner turmoil and thoughts about like what he wants. And then you have kind of the main artist on the stuff that's kind of happening, like, I guess, so in the world of Gotham, because the other two are like book-based ones, so like kind of the real world of sorts. So, but yeah, Philip Kennedy Johnson's writing this thing. I've talked about once Philip Kennedy Johnson has basically taken over this book, aside from like maybe like one story hiccup, one bit where I was like, it's a little bit of kind of a nuisance there. I think Batman and Robin has been really solid, and this might be my favorite issue of their runs so far. The way it kind of dives into like the relationship Bruce had with his father and ties that back into what Damian's feeling with his inner turmoil and why he's wants to kind of like go down a bit of a different path for him. Like I said, it's really quite good. So as the issue opens up, we go into the Thomas Wayne's journal, told way back when, and you can see the drawings are led to believe that these are by him. And he talks about his, time with Bruce, about like building sailboats together. There was a time where he kind of got like too into his work, and then like Bruce seemed kind of upset about that, so he like wanted to make up to him. And then he also kind of talked with Alfred a little bit too. And there's the last line about how I hope Bruce has Alfred in his life for many years to come, which, as we know, Alfred would eventually be killed by Bane. And it's been a lingering thing going on for, geez, how long ago did Alfred die? Was it been like 5 years at least at this point? Maybe. So yeah, but like Alfred's been gone for quite a while. So meanwhile, in the present time, after Damian was kidnapped by Memento, he's basically got pretty much every Batman family member out looking for him. You have Nightwing and Red Hood, you got Oracle, you got Tim and Steph, and all that, and you even have the Signal in there as well. I don't see Cassandra Cain, but she is off on her own little adventure in the pages of Batgirl, so that could be why she's not present within this storyline. But or Kate Kane or anything like that. But again, you have so many Bat family members. Like, you have like a bunch here. They're all looking for Damian. We also have Lautrec there, and Bruce is there, and he's also seeing things. He's still feeling the lingering effects of the Gravedigger's poppy. He's really remorseful of what he did. He feels responsible for what happened, but then because of the result of the Gravedigger's poppy, he's hallucinating different things. Like, he's seeing a fire here, people dying there, and then all of a sudden he's kind of back to the manor, and Oracle realizes that he's still under the influence of this stuff, and she's like, you got to shut down right now. But like, now he's got to try and figure out, he's got to find Robin. He should have trusted him better. I tried to use Robin to spy on Bashar, practically dared him to, and it's my fault for what's happening on here too. So he needs Robin's help. He's got to find him. And in searching Damian's room, we see a lot of cool stuff. We see his drawings there because Damian is a well-done artist. They also pull on like Damian's comic book drawings because in the Williamson stuff, he was drawing stuff like, called it like Damian Vane, his own little fan fiction stuff. But here he kind of tells it in a way that I think works a little bit better. It's not Damian Vane and all that stuff. This one's the adventures of Robin and Batman. He's written little stories about him, but he also gives himself top billing, which I do kind of like right there. It's Batman and Robin, not Robin and Batman, and I'm sick of it. So I don't know. I just had to pull that line from Batman and Robin there. So, but yeah, so Robin gets a little top building. So Bruce goes in, reads his book, and this is where the art switches to being done by Junie Ba. Now, Junie Ba did like the Boy Wonder book, which I did cover on the channel, which was a good book if you're a fan of Damian, but this style really works for Damian's like story. So this is led to believe that Damian himself is drawing this thing. So he talks about like how he feels so alive being Robin. He feels safest when he's flying. However, like when his feet touches the ground, he feels his shadow like kind of linger on to him. And he also, we get to showcase some of the guilt and like that he's feeling over his own actions, over what happened to the Sacred Heart girl, and he just can't kind of break free of it. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, is this what Batman feels like when he fails? Am I willing to be this afraid forever? Like, it's that fear that's really kind of taking over him. And then it goes back and ties into the storylines of Thomas Wayne's journal. Like, you can see right here, he's kind of at like a crossroads. He's kind of lost, but then he finds the journal that Bruce had given to him from Thomas Wayne, and then like the art kind of has him merging into the journal, and we see him, he looks at, like, he used to think of civilians as kind of lesser people, but then he sees all of the good they're doing. He hears about the stuff that Bashar has done, and Damian's kind of like looking at this as a time before Batman and Robin were ever in Gotham and the way the city was beforehand. Now, that's not to take into account the stuff of the mobs and, you know, the crime that was going on, because there's always been crime in Gotham. I mean, the Falcons that have been within the city for many, many years, but a lot of the known super criminals that we see in today's day and age, like Joker and all that, weren't around before Batman necessarily. And Damian kind of thinks about, like, Gotham was better without Batman and Robin. At least that's what he's thinking while he's kind of drawing this stuff. And of course, Bruce is having his little nightmare visions as well as a result of the Gravedigger's Poppy. And so we also talk about how, like, working with Lautrec has been really cool. He also heard a story about, like, a chosen member of the bloodline comes of age, a guardian angel kind of comes to look over them, guide them on some path, and he thinks it could be Lautrec. But then again, he writes about how Memento comes into the thing. He talks about the notes and all that he's discovered, and he's wondering if Memento could potentially be like some sort of spirit meant to go after the Waynes. Like, that's what he's thinking, like a supernatural force that ties into, like, the Wayne lineage. So, but he also, like, had this really touching moment where Damian talks about, like, how he wished he could be, like, friends with his dad in the past and go and, like, fight stuff together. And there's also a moment of, like, his clarity where he's like, what if I wasn't Robin? Could I leave this life behind? The Gotham from these journals was so different. Could that place ever exist again? And he's like, once we caught Memento and kind of clean the city up, I'll be a doctor like my grandfather was. That's what he wants to do. And I thought that was really sweet. Like, that was kind of a, like, it's an interesting direction for Damian's character to kind of go in. And I thought that was, like, interesting. Like, because, I mean, he's been toying with the idea of becoming a doctor because he's still, like, helping people and, you know, still doing good because he realizes, like, the everyday people, the good that they can do. But there's also things that you need the vigilantes and, like, the superheroes to do. So maybe for him it'll be, like, a work-life balance between it. But he's also looking and reading into this journal is wondering, you know, he's seen, like, the way Thomas talked about Bruce and the way things were there. He wonders if that's the life he could have ever had. Like, you can see him, like, drawing himself into the moments between, you know, Bruce and his father, and, like, that's the kind of life, like, he wants for himself. And it's kind of emotional. Like I said, that was some really good, like, touching stuff right there. And Bruce is there. He needs something to kind of figure out what's been going on with this, and he sees the boat, which is, you know, ties back into Damian's notes and the stuff from Thomas Wayne. And he also gets a vision of Alfred. He's like, everything that you need to solve this case is right there. And so he finds a journal that Damian had. He was working on his little case file about the Memento stuff, and maybe it is going to tie back in. We don't know who Memento is. Maybe it is some sort of, like, tying in. I mean, it's obviously tied into Bruce's past because you have Lautrec and, you know, like, his vial or whatever, and we have the stuff with Thomas Wayne and, you know, the way that matches up with Damian and his father and the way that's all kind of tying together. So it's something from Bruce's past. Like, maybe it is a spirit or something, because, like, Memento seems to have some sort of supernatural qualities to him, so maybe that's where it's all going to tie in together in some capacity. I don't exactly know. But also, before I forget, let me credit the artist on this thing. So Phil Kennedy Johnson was the writer on this thing. Hugo Petrus, artist, was the Thomas Wayne's Journal, which is done in that style. Miguel Mendoza or whatever is the artist in the present day sequence, which is the stuff you're seeing through here. And of course, Juni Ba is the artist for the Adventures of Robin and Batman, which is great because Juni Ba wrote the Boy Wonder Robin Damian Wayne focus book. So I thought this was a pretty solid issue overall. I like the callbacks even to wait. Like, it kind of even remember, if I'm not mistaken, it does tie back into, like, the New 52 Batman and Robin run where you have that bit where Bruce is with the sailboat. He puts the sailboat in the water and Damian just kind of scoffs at it. So I don't know, like, there's little bits like that felt like kind of nice how they tied them together. And I like the idea of Damian wanting to become, like, a doctor, like a healer of sorts, like his grandfather, like Thomas Wayne. Actually, wouldn't that be Ra's al Ghul too? Because he was a doctor at one point too. He definitely, like, tried to help heal people of sorts beforehand too. So maybe that'll tie in. But this is a book about Bruce and his father, and Damian and his father Bruce. So like it's tying in on that side. I'm sure after this arc's done, maybe we'll tie back into the Al Ghul lineage a little bit more, because we got a little taste of that within Damian's journal about how he's always like kind of running away from the assassin stuff and how that always comes back to like haunt his life. But again, I like the idea of Damian wanting to become a doctor when he's older to help people, in the vein of like both his grandfathers. So that's some good stuff here. Artwork is pretty solid. I like how each artist has their own distinct style, and it serves a purpose within the pages of the story. I think the Junie Boss stuff suits, you know, Damian's little book that he was writing for like himself about his internal thoughts and drawing that all together. I thought that worked out really well. And again, the stuff with Thomas Wayne, the way that was drawn to make it seem like Thomas Wayne was drawing it was pretty good. And then you got the mainline art stuff with a lot of the nightmarish looking images kind of sprinkled in throughout this whole thing. Again, I'm really liking Batman and Robin right now. I think it's really solid. This might be my favorite of the run so far. Really kind of does a deep dive into Damian's character. We get to see Bruce with his guilt over some of the stuff that he had done beforehand, and the clues are starting to add up a little bit with Memento. And it's going well. It's going really well so far. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing a really good job. I like the stuff too, where like the opening stuff with Bruce's father and his journal, and how that really does a good job fleshing out like why, like it kind of like summarizes that dynamic between him and his dad pretty well. So if you're not as familiar with it, like it kind of brings it all together pretty well. So, and the way Damian took Thomas Wayne's journal and kind of almost wrote himself into it because that's the life he wants to have. Really good stuff, really strong stuff. And, you know, visually it tells a lot of the story that way too. And I'm enjoying it. So yeah, probably my favorite issue of the run so far. It's one I'd like to even like kind of reread again after this thing. Like I definitely want to reread this whole arc from the get-go and see how it kind of like all plays out like once the whole story is complete. Because I've really been enjoying this thing. I think this Phil Kennedy Johnson is a talented writer. Maybe it took a minute to kind of get going with this thing, but again, new creative, they want to jump the gun and to kind of get their feet settled and, you know, try and figure things out. Like sometimes with a new creative, you got to give it a couple issues to kind of really like let the story start to flow. And I thought Philip Kennedy Johnson would do good on the run, but he's proven me right once again. So kudos to you, PKJ. Looking forward to seeing what you do next with this title. So, but if you're not reading Batman and Robin, it's definitely one you want to check out. I think it's really solid stuff. And yeah, really good, really good, really good. But anyways, what did you think of it? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for content, hit the bell for notifications, all their fun stuff. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. I got DC versus Vampires and I got Absolute Batman, but I'm probably just going to post those ones tomorrow, or just between tomorrow and Friday or something like that, because I want to kind of space some of these videos out a little bit. Sometimes I just kind of like mad rush post them all at once and I just kind of miss something, but I'll probably just save those ones for like tomorrow and Friday or whatever. So because like I need to kind of reread those ones. So yeah, but anyways, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now. Bye bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.